this thing on?
We talking about practice, man.
I work with my hands. It's a misdemeanor in 27 states.
You gotta be comfortable with your co-host in this amount of space.
Yeah, I can see me and you.
This guy runs a state.
You get that through your head?
You just got hashtag content.
You know, technology and stuff.
Up in your grill. It's stuck in your teeth.
Now I have to mark them so I don't get the lick mic.
You're not really that stupid, are you?
Quavos.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
We double eye editing this time.
The ceiling is the roof. Let's make it happen.
Believe it or not, the Buffalo Bills are in sole possession of first place in the AFC East.
How did we get here, and will it last? We'll chat with WKBW's Matt Bove about the Bills' win over the Jets.
Plus, Syracuse is well on their way to a 1-11 season. Is there any hope for Dino's Orange?
Fall beers, fall beers. Which ones will make you cheer? Which ones to steer clear? Bills Cincinnati will break it all down.
To be determined, episode 28, previously recorded from the studio in Mom's basement.
Now, last week, a little Trey White, we talked about doing the number for the professional athlete of the episode there. And hey, Marshall Faulk, that's probably the biggest one, but Prince Fielder.
Prince Fielder, another one. Freddie Taylor?
That's some, oh yeah, he's good. He's very good. But Prince Fielder, I just love fast dough. When he was stealing bases at his girth,
yeah,
that's a beautiful thing.
That is.
One of the best things ever in sports.
At Sports by Bond, Stephen Bond, with at Trabs Matt Traybold, at Scooty Minks.
Yeah.
You can find the show, tobedeterminedshow.com, social media. What are we? At TBD_show on Twitter, To Be Determined Show on Instagram, Facebook.com/ToBeDeterminedPod on Facebook, obviously. Email the show, tbdmailman@gmail.com. Episode 28, Travs Matt, what's the word?
Salutations, baby.
Indeed.
I don't know what it applies to, but it's been said.
It works.
It's out there.
Welcome back.
It's part of us all.
Welcome back from another Penn State trip.
Yeah. I get my vacation days, I'll just put it that way.
Rarely.
My vacation weekends, I should say.
Yeah.
And just with other people's availabilities that I hang out with outside of upstate New York, they just came pretty close together this year. So
I would just like to state that I had a near traumatic moment this week.
Excuse me?
Near traumatic. I almost lost my Keurig.
Oh, my God.
It turns out that the fuse box had just flipped after we had a power outage, but I thought my Keurig was blown for a little while there, and I was without coffee for a lengthy period on a Wednesday morning.
Jitters critters, dude.
It was not good. It was not good. But anyway, I digress. I fixed the problem, and we moved on. Huh. But for that hour, I had to scramble down to Dunkin' Donuts, and not a sponsor, and get a large coffee because...
Oh, that's how it was remedied? Doesn't sound that bad.
Well, once I fixed the Keurig. But it crisis averted, shall we say. It was crisis averted. And crisis averted for the Buffalo Bills on a Sunday.
Yeah, they're still in some crisis, though.
We'll give them this week, though.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Give them week one for now.
Win's a win. It's factual.
It's going to be ugly. We know that. We know it. It's not pretty by any stretch of the imagination.
It's
a win, and as we put kind of... It's against the Jets, and we all know that the Jets are in a complete tank mode.
Or as you said here, the Bills beat the Rez, R-E-S.
I don't know what that is then.
That only shares 2 letters.
Yeah, that's not even close.
The numbers game does not go too well with you there.
Either way, 21-12, the Bills beat the Jets. The home opener, the season opener. The question we'll pose right now is, how did the offense look?
I think, obviously with every game, not every piece of it's going to be great, but hey, enough pieces worked that I think was indicative of them not only winning, but hey, they should have won by much more, at least when you look at the first half. Much better on the stat sheet than in the scoreboard when you're going into the locker rooms there. I mean, Charles Clay, this is a guy, even in practice, in preseason, in training camp, he wasn't always out there. He wasn't always going full bore because of his injury issues. I mean, he's getting there at this point in his career. And this is a guy from Miami who was an H-back, and they didn't really know what he'd be able to do in terms of your quote-unquote fantasy offensive production. And then towards his last season there with Miami Dolphins, he became a top 10 tight end in this league and came over.
Earned that big ticket.
Came over as a big name, and I think today he showed, he had his issues, but in terms of the reps he got in the preseason, I think he was very, very good. He played big plays.
Charles Clay in particular is a guy that was underutilized his first 2 years in Buffalo, plain and simple. Tyrod simply did not look over the middle. The offensive scheme the past 2 years just didn't incorporate the tight end enough. They just didn't use him. They didn't really know how to use a piece like that. Overall, I think the offense did okay, considering that a lot of these pieces are new. Whether it be rookies or in a trade, they're new. Just getting a quick update from one senior producer, Mitch Baluco.
Oh, we'll keep that under wraps.
We look forward to possibly getting him on in the C block. We're still working that out. Of course, our senior producer down in Tampa. So,
Whack.
just like everyone with Houston, we want to throw out our thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, absolutely.
As we're recording. Irma is happening as we're recording, basically, on a Sunday night.
I wish I could read your eyes better there, so I wasn't singing Rihanna right before we went into something more serious. But
That's all right. That's all right.
No.
You couldn't tell. We'll get to that eventually. We'll get back to the Bills for now. Red zone offense was good. It was shaky to begin with. Tyrod threw the interception early, and you thought, oh, God, here we go again, because for the past 2 years, the Bills' red zone offense has been atrocious. But I would argue that it actually looked better week one than it did all of last year and maybe the year before that.
And it really, that situation with the red zone stuff, just in general, that really needed to turn over a new leaf within the confines of this game because, geez, I saw after the fact that it should have been a pick six to a certain degree, even though it was coming from the exact opposite painted area, where unless there was a little trippage, I mean, we had the butt fumble with Mark Sanchez, you have two guys running into each other. He had three blockers they didn't need in front of him because he was past all Bills.
Yes. Yeah.
But no, he runs into one of his teammates.
Crazy. Yeah.
It's friendly fire.
Yeah, not good. It was a funny moment, and it sort of epitomized that game. Amazing that, and a lot was made of the fact that this game would lead, this game would deliver the division leader at the end of the day, which is like, I have trouble even saying it because that's how crazy it is, but it did. Shady was shady. Looked good. At one point got hurt, and I think everyone's collective breath sort of was like, oh boy, what do we...
That's the bell cow.
Yeah, that's the guy. Tyrod, this was a typical Tyrod game. I wouldn't necessarily say he was the game manager here because I thought he did enough. Had the interception, obviously, but came back with 2 touchdown passes. I thought the offense was efficient. I thought this was as exuberant, I guess, if that's the right word to use, as a Rick Dennison offense is going to get. There's nothing flashy about this offense, and there won't be, but this was about as flashy, exuberant as you're going to get with Rick Dennison.
And I never thought I'd hear in the same sentence exuberant and Rick Dennison.
Yeah, sorry.
And hey, it's not that he gives terrible sound in terms of he doesn't want to talk to the media, but he's not like super rah-rah, super high energy, but at least you did preface it with not as exuberant. So...
It is what it is. The wide receivers were awful until, as you pointed out, the Matthews catch that in the third quarter, it was like the 36-yard catch that he had or whatever the heck it was. You mentioned that it was the turning point in the game.
Absolutely, because even though they were so outgaining them in every stretch of the imagination, it was still, from a score perspective, way too close for Bills fans' minds. And it should have been.
Yeah.
And that really, I mean, yes, they didn't really put the game away at the end, but in terms of just overall, I think that definitely put the nail in the coffin.
I think you hope that that's a flash, that one play is a flash of what could be in the connection of Tyrod and Jordan Matthews. I think that sort of epitomizes what you hope to get because, listen, Sammy's gone, and we all know it. No one is saying that Jordan Matthews is Sammy, but if you can get something close, and that's the idea, is that play was a big play down the field, and that's what you like to see. This team doesn't have a whole lot of big play wide receivers on it. It just doesn't.
Yeah, and they just need reps. I mean, it's not just that he wasn't playing in preseason games across the board with Tyrod Taylor because he was coming over from a new team who was having injury issues. I mean, he wasn't always out there in practice.
Yeah.
So reps. And let me same with Charles Clay in terms of across the board reps.
Bills were actually good on third down. I want to repeat that. The Bills were actually good on third down. 47%. Last year they held around 40% all year. But really I think 40 seems high for them last year because every time they got in third down, I never had the confidence that team would actually convert and get a first down and get a fresh set. This offense today, I actually had some confidence in it, and I can't explain why because the pieces for the most part are gone that we knew, the last few seasons. But I did have some confidence that, hey, they would at least come close. Tolbert looked good running the ball. We mentioned Shady. Those two guys controlled the line of scrimmage with the offensive line up front. You plugged in and played with some pieces there, and we'll talk with Matt Bove of WKBW about this offensive line. But I was really surprised how efficient they were on third down.
Yeah, and in terms of past seasons, those were the negative plays that really resonated. So you expected it to be a worse number on there. And they ended up being 13th, which is pretty good when you look at 32 NFL teams. But yeah, and then today, they started putting them together. And you're like, yeah, it really turned over a new leaf in terms of having confidence watching this game.
Yeah, it just seemed different to me. And maybe that's a Rick Dennison, maybe that's a factor of the Rick Dennison offense. It just seemed, I don't know.
Plug away, baby.
I guess so. All right, let's switch to the defensive side of the ball. And as we had here, they did enough, but they were awful at times. 1 sack, 2 interceptions. Josh McCown looked far too comfortable behind that offensive line. I mean, could you name one guy on the offensive line for the Jets right now? I can't off the top of my head.
Well, James Carpenter.
Okay, so you can.
Brent Qualley.
So you got 2.
But like Wesley Johnson and Brian Winters are not starting on a lot of other NFL teams, and they had stretches where they were really protecting well today.
He looked like an NFL quarterback, and that should not be the case given the Bills' front four. It should not happen. That Bills' front four should have eaten today. They should have gotten bonuses.
Consumed.
They should have had bonuses based on this game alone.
Yeah,
and
take advantage.
Part of it is probably the scheme. We're still figuring out the Sean McDermott scheme. We're still figuring out the Leslie Frazier aspect of this as well, where maybe it's not going to be as much blitz. Maybe they're not going to have the pressure that we think they're going to have or that we hope they would have from a few years ago when they had the 4-3 scheme. We'll see. We'll see over the next few weeks. That's kind of a wait-and-see thing at this point. You don't know because you don't really get the look in preseason.
I mean, there was a second-half drive or two where he was throwing 3 consecutive plays of first-down tosses. Jermaine Kearse, he was a pretty big part of the process offensively for Seattle, but he just got to this team.
And he looked comfortable too in that offense.
They had some stretches.
At times, maybe more comfortable than Jordan Matthews, and it's a similar situation.
Yeah, very similar.
It's funny. I'm just going back to a couple of tweets. I know Joe Biscaglia, Matt Bove's colleague, and I think your colleague, Toby Matika, at 2 different times tweeted, the Jets are driving. Something that I didn't think we would hear today.
Because I think they're far and away the worst team in the NFL.
It appears that way.
Even after only losing by single digits to any NFL team today, which was the Bills this time around.
I didn't get the final spread on this game. I wasn't sure if it was 8, 9, 9.5. It did flop around.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was close is not good for the Bills. It shows you that the Bills really are not that much farther ahead of the Jets.
It's not good.
And that's not good. That's not good at all. Although, you know what? In the long run, if this front office and this organization is thinking long term, then maybe it's exactly where they want to be. But again, that's a discussion for another time. Yeah. We're at the season. We're here. So you got to just analyze the games and talk about them as they come every week. We'll go to week 2 then. A little preview, if we can. They're on the road. So it'll be the first road test for Sean McDermott and a big road test. You go to Carolina. It's a team that obviously struggled last year. That was not the same Carolina Panthers team that went to the Super Bowl. We're not really sure what to expect here.
Yeah, and Philly Brown's gone, ironically, to the Bills, and then he ended up not making the team, tagging juniors in New Orleans. So they're really trying to figure out themselves, maybe not as much so, because it's not like an entirely new wide receiving core for the most part. But yeah, they're still trying to figure it out. They weren't great today. Christian McCaffrey wasn't great. Granted, it's his first real NFL game. But Jonathan Stewart looked like he did a few years ago when him and D'Angelo Williams were a great two-headed monster in that backfield. So, I mean, there's pieces where you get a little bit scared. They weren't great last year, but 2 years ago, with plenty of the same big-time pieces on both sides of the ball, I mean, they made the Super Bowl.
Cam struggled last year.
Yeah.
And I've got a personal interest in Cam.
Oh, given that fantasy.
It's because it's fantasy. I've got him on a fantasy team. Cam goes 14-25, 171 in week 1, 2 TDs and 1 interception. I would argue that Tyrod's numbers are better than his, and he probably played a lot better. McCaffrey's the big pick that you're looking at. He's the first-round selection. Only 47 yards on the ground. He had 38 through the air, so almost 100 collectively. He did not see the end zone. Jonathan Stewart, I believe, got a receiving touchdown.
And he
He got a
did
majority
some
of the carries.
Crazy flippage on it.
He did. So, listen, it's a team that has the potential to have a tremendous defense, as Sean McDermott is aware. He was a part of it. Offensively, I think they're still trying to figure things out.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be as good as they were 2 years ago, but I do think, it's not going to be that difficult to be better than last season. To be better than that, come back down to earth. I don't think they're going to come back down to earth that much or be on that plane.
Today's not a good test, but today wasn't a good test for the Bills because the Jets are so bad and the 49ers are atrocious, and that's who Carolina played today, was 49ers. 49ers, I truly believe that the Bills are probably around anywhere from third worst to seventh worst in the league. I think that's the buffer zone you give them because you've got teams. Listen, the Lions looked atrocious today too, and that's what you would think is a playoff team. We're going to have some surprises. We still don't know how Deshaun Kaiser's going to do in Cleveland. They could be atrocious. You got a bunch of teams where it's kind of a wait and see. The fact that the Bills are at the head of the AFC East right now, it won't last. I mean, everyone knows this. It's obvious. Don't get used to seeing them there. It's kind of a laughingstock at this point.
Yeah, but see, the Browns, 21-18, they barely lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who a lot of people think will get to the Super Bowl.
True.
And then you look around the league, and you have the Bears, who are supposed to be really bad behind Mike Glennon this season. They lose by less than a touchdown to a Super Bowl team from last year in Atlanta.
Yeah.
There was one national outlet, I cannot remember which one it is, because a lot of them do these power rankings every week. And the bottom two were the two games, or the two teams in the game that happened in upstate New York today. The Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. And because you saw a couple teams expected to be in that bottom five, per se, in Chicago and in Cleveland, do very well, in losses, granted, against big time names in this league right now. You're like, is that true? Are these the bottom two teams?
All right, let's move to Syracuse. The Orange, we'll touch on this quickly. The Orange, an embarrassing loss to Middle Tennessee State. Cuse, as I've noted here, and I told you this earlier, as we talked to Matt Hawsworth, FOT's Matt Hawsworth, Haws sees a path for them to get into a bowl game, but that path included a win over Middle Tennessee State. I said during that same show, which I think was, 2 episodes ago, I see them going 1-11. I think it's a realistic possibility that team only wins one game all year. And we're here. They've now lost to Middle Tennessee State. Next up is Central Michigan. And not to get too far ahead, but this team's going to play 5 top 25 teams in the coming weeks here. You're not going to get an easier game than Middle Tennessee State. This was your warm-up game, or your second warm-up game. And
beware Central Michigan, because Maction always steals games from Power 5 conferences. I mean, it's usually always the Big Ten, and it happened this week, and I'll get to that in a second. But these directional, I should say, Michigan teams, I mean, Western Michigan, without P.J. Fleck, without Corey Davis, gave Sam Darnold and USC all sorts of hell in the first game. And then Eastern Michigan beat Rutgers this week. So things are kind of trending towards another Power 5 really tough game at the very least, if not a full loss for the expected-to-win team here with a Michigan directional team. Dungy's the key to the whole thing. He's got to be better through the air. 180 yards, not going to get it done. Just not going to get it done. 116 of those yards went to Steve Ishmael, who's had 2 really good games. Yeah. He has emerged in that Amba Editawu role, so to speak. Yeah, I would say in Amba Editawu, because he played so well last year, and by some metrics and some statistics, you're like, oh, maybe he was the best college receiver last year. Mm-hmm. When you look at just the sheer numbers, and I think a lot of people were surprised he only ended up on the Jaguars practice squad. I think go the opposite way, where Steve Ishmael isn't as hyped maybe going into right after his final year in college, and could end up being drafted higher or have like an actual 53-man spot on an NFL team this time next year. Yeah, there's definitely a role for him, given his size and speed. It's blowing up. And now the numbers. He's following with the numbers. Once again, Dungy led this team in rushing, and as we both noted, this can't happen. It simply cannot happen. You cannot have your quarterback lead the team in rushing. I mean, look at the team that's west of you in the Buffalo Bills. Tyrod's a great runner, but he's not leading the team in rushing. Yeah. You've got your running back there. You've got to get the run game going. And I think that's not only are you relying on the backs to do that, but you've got to get the push on the offensive line. And that's an area where that team struggled last year. The O-line was not good. And a lot of them were hurt, but still, they're back now. So what's the excuse? An offense and a team in general is only going to have so many plays in a football game, and you want more of those devoted to Dungy's arm. You really do. They got to find out something. I don't know if they get a little bit creative with it, but something's got to happen. They can't have this happen again.
The other person that might get drafted that we've discussed is Zaire Franklin. 7 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss. He and Steve Ishmael were the only bright spots to this team. You could argue that Dungy was because he led the team in rushing, but then again, it's not good. He's just putting himself out there to get hurt and tackled more, and that's not good. So Franklin's good. Those 2 guys are maybe on your draft watch early on.
Absolutely.
The question I have for you, Trabs, is find me a win. Find me a second win.
I don't know if Maction does it 2 weeks in a row, so they might squeak out one against Central Michigan this week.
They're 2-0, Central Michigan is.
I know.
The Chippewas, right? Isn't that...
Yeah, the Chippewas.
Right.
Former, it was Dan Lefevre throwing in Antonio Brown.
Right.
But at LSU, Coach O and Darius Geis and Arden Key are coming in pretty quick.
I could see them beating Central Michigan.
Yeah.
That could be a win.
No, there's no way they... But
and
the
then
next game...
The next game's not you don't have a prayer. Syracuse, I could see a way to 4 wins, and here's where I could see it. Central Michigan could be a win, which gets you to 2. BC at the very end of the year could be a win, that's 3. Could be. I'm not saying it will be.
I mean, Harold Landry might have something to say about that, but they were terrible against a team. I assume you're going to mention right now?
No. The last one that I was going to mention is open. It's open for interpretation. It's the Virginia Tech game last year where they don't have a prayer, but somehow they come up with a victory. SU football always seems to do that once a year.
Yeah.
And it'll be a home game. You know what? It could even be a road game for that matter. That's how crazy this year could go for them. And then again, I will stand by they could go 1-11.
I was going to say Wake Forest, but that wouldn't be like a huge upset like a Virginia Tech last year.
It wouldn't be. But that could be a win, too. But I'll tell you, Wake does look good.
I mean, they throttled. In an early ACC game in the season, throttled Harold Landry and BC.
It's hard. I can see 4 wins. I don't think you get a win more. And again, I can also see the very likely scenario in my mind that they win 1 game all year. It's bad. It's not good.
I mean, Dino would be fine for this season, but, I mean, he's just such a positive aspect of the college football world. It'd be terrible to see.
I don't want to see Dino get let go from Syracuse because I think he's the best thing SU has going right now in that football program. And long term, he's the best thing for the program.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially at the dollars that you're paying him. It doesn't make sense to get rid of the guy. So you have to stick it out. But nobody wants to see this because we all think, Dino's going to be the savior and he'll turn around the program. But
I mean, their SOS is, top 5 this year?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to give the guy some slack.
You got to give him time. All right, bump music in. Around the corner, we're going to bring in good friend of the show, Matt Bove of WKBW. YB was at the Bills game today, shot the game, so he had the best seat in the house, really, for a lot of the action. We'll talk to Matt, get his thoughts on everything Bills related. That's next on To Be Determined.
I said it last week for college, but it's applicable again. Week 1, week fun, NFL. Here, we're going to be talking about it in this block. It's a beautiful thing.
It is. Week 1 of the NFL is back. We survived the offseason. Thank goodness. Although it really is like a 24/7. It's just the NFL never stops.
Yeah, it
really
stays
just
relevant.
never stops.
It stays relevant.
Pleased to be joined by good friend of the show, Matthew Bove of WKBW in Buffalo, sports anchor, reporter, Sabres beat reporter. The guy does it all for Channel 7 out in Buffalo. You can find him on Twitter at Matt_Bove. I don't even need to write that one down. That one I know off the hand because it's such a good follow.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's very nice.
Listen, not that Bove is going to get any followers from us because he just towers over us from a Twitter perspective, but we're going to throw it out there anyways because maybe the 1 or 2 people that follow us that don't follow you will now follow you.
Well, how about working in a sports office when, your main anchor's got 89,000 Twitter followers and you come in every day slumming it with a couple, $7,000 or whatever, 7,000. And it's like, it doesn't matter because Joe tweets something out and all of Buffalo explodes. And I tweet something out and they're like, who? What?
Hey, Joe B is a rare breed, and that's what happens. That's what happens.
No kidding.
Listen, you got time. You're still young enough to where it'll happen one of these.
Young Bove. Yeah, exactly.
All right.
It's so relevant. YB,
yeah.
What is YB's age?
YB is 24.
Golly. Youngin'.
Yeah. Rocking the cradle.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Doing it well.
And you know what? The kid's been doing it for,
doing it with style.
He's been doing it. How long you been at KBW now?
4 years.
Exactly. It's insane.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing when I was 20 years old. Like, this kid was a pro.
Well, I don't know about pro, but I stumbled in and they never told me to leave.
Hey, you were cashing the checks, and that's all that matters. At the end of the day,
Amen.
that's all that matters. All right, Matt was out at the game today. You were shooting it. New knee pads, if I'm not mistaken. I saw on, was it the Twitter or the Instagram, one of the two?
Instagram story.
Okay.
Not a big deal.
All right.
But yeah, new knee pads, new season. Trabs can attest to this. You forget how sore you are after shooting an NFL football game and how tired you are. I was on the phone with somebody on my way home, and they're like, well, how do you feel? Are you tired? I'm like, I am just so beyond exhausted. I actually woke up and played hockey this morning.
Oh, good
God. At 6:30, and then just, 6:30 to 7:30, basically on your feet the entire time moving around. But I am ecstatic that football is back. I'm even more ecstatic that means hockey's right around the corner.
That's true. Yes. Well said, sir.
Yeah.
I will second those comments. Just obviously preparing for the big Buffalo-Rochester inaugural media game at some point is what I'm assuming. So we got to
get that set up. We absolutely do. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be ugly on my part. I've not been on skates in like a year, so I'll shake the rust off, hopefully. All right, let's get to the game, Bove. It's a win, as we've got noted on the rundown here. But given how they look today, we may not get many more this season. Just from a broad perspective, your instant reaction to the Bills game today.
Run defense looked good. LaShawn McCoy is still outstanding. Nice to see that they're using Charles Clay, but now that they're using him more, he needs to play better. He needs to make those catches instead of drop those 2 drops that he had, because those were really, really crucial plays. And Tyrod Taylor was fine. He was Tyrod Taylor. I know it's a different offense and different schemes. He made some really great plays with his legs, a couple sacks that he avoided and actually found receivers downfield on 3rd down. That was refreshing to see. It was also nice to see him utilize the middle of the field more than he had in, the last couple of years. That being said, some shaky throws from him, has to get the wide receivers more involved. Maybe that comes with time, especially because, Jordan Matthews and him have never been on the field together for the same team, in a game setting. Zay Jones' first NFL game. Those are your 1-2. So, there's not going to be a ton of chemistry there. Overall, they won the game. That's what they needed to do. I really don't feel any different, though, now than I did at, say, noon today, just because there were things to like, there were things not to like. The Jets are really bad.
So as you alluded to a second ago, LaShawn McCoy looked true to form, but that offers up now a couple of other questions. Can you just rely on Shady, and can he carry this team?
Well, it depends on how he's utilized. If he's utilized the right way, and I don't want to say that they can just rely on him because they can't, because then they're one-dimensional, and I don't think really anybody is expecting the Bills to be a playoff team or anything even close really this year. So I guess it depends on what you mean by depend. If you want to rely on LaShawn McCoy to be an average football team and give him the ball, 30 times a game in some capacity, you can probably get away with it. But if they actually want to take steps in the right direction, they're going to need to use the receivers, use their tight ends, use LaShawn McCoy in different creative ways. Today, he was great when he was running on Cordy Glenn's side.
Yeah.
When he was running on the right side, things got a little messy. Maybe Deion Dawkins comes in and then he can be more explosive on both sides of the line. But still, when he's in open space on screen passes and those sweeps that he can do, he's unbelievable. He's one of the most exciting players in the NFL. I think Buffalo fans might take that for granted, how just outstanding he is.
Yeah, he was, to me, clearly the best player on the football field today, and it wasn't even a question. Tyrod, as you mentioned, good but not great. I think the same could probably be said about the wide receiving core.
Yeah.
It's good, it's not great. Is there a bright spot among that wide receiver group? Is there someone in that room that stood out today?
Well, I not really stood out. As you guys mentioned, I was shooting the game, so I don't get to see everything maybe from the widest perspective. I'm kind of more focused in on what's exactly going on. Excuse me. I liked how Zay Jones was running routes from what I saw. I don't think he only got targeted twice, though, so not a ton can be said about that. Jordan Matthews had the really nice long touchdown run. He actually was running right at me, and it was my first near-death experience of the year. Like the one where, it's funny, I was showing the video to a couple of people, and he's running right at the camera, and he's coming to the sideline, and all of a sudden I just tumble over because if I don't, he's going to kill me. But Andre Holmes getting the touchdown, that was nice to see. I mean, they're really just were so underutilized today that there's really not a lot to be said because, they weren't getting a ton of targets. So how can we tell if it was their fault or if it was the quarterback's fault? I mean, it's not like they were going out and dropping passes. They were catching what was being thrown to them. There just wasn't a lot thrown to them.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
So, sticking with the offense here, the offensive line going to be very crucial this season for a number of reasons. Cordy Glenn, limited today. Deion Dawkins, he got some run. How concerned should we be about not just Cordy and his injury issues, but this line overall?
Well, the line is getting older compared to some of the other position groups on the team, so there are definitely concerns there, but you had the Eric Wood injury last year. Incognito has been healthy these last couple of years, so you need him to stay in there. Obviously, Cordy Glenn's probably the most important person on that line. So if he can stay healthy, he can really anchor everything else down. The right side of the line is when you start to get into some questions. I'd imagine that we see Deion Dawkins at right tackle sometime in the next couple weeks. Probably he's a better run blocker, I think, than some of the other options they have there. So maybe that happens. But yeah, they need to stay healthy because if they don't stay healthy, obviously that takes away from LaShawn McCoy. And if that takes away from LaShawn McCoy, then, you've got a lot of problems.
It's so obvious, but it all comes back to the guys up front. Every single friggin' week it does, no matter what side of the ball you're on.
Yeah, without question. It's insane how important that is. It's, probably the most, I don't know. Everybody knows how important it is, but sometimes you don't realize when you're watching a game, just everything that goes on there.
Glad to hear your dog's going to get a walk, too, by the way.
Dog's going for a walk. Yeah.
It's just great.
Did you hear me? Like, sorry,
it's all right.
Dog's
It's
going
hysterical.
for a walk. It's like,
Hey, it's good to know. Good to know. Defense today made Josh McCown look probably better than he actually is. I get that it's week 1, but should we be concerned about this defense? Is it a matter of it just being a new scheme, some new pieces, both? I don't know.
I liked how the defense looked today for the most part. I mean, I know they gave up a couple plays and they, Josh McCown was completing passes on third down, but I really don't think they played very bad. Like I mentioned, the run defense was outstanding. And for what they were trying to do, I think they were okay with giving Josh McCown these little 6-7 yard passes up the middle of the field. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to see what happens next week against Cam Newton, but compared to last year, the defense looked a lot better. I loved how Jordan Poyer played today. I thought he was great. I thought Micah Hyde played really, really well. The line was whatever. They didn't really get in or get any pressure, but that might be part of the system. I mean, we're going to learn more about this system now. I know McDermott defenses, even though it's a Leslie Frazier defense, Sean McDermott's defense doesn't blitz a ton. Mm-hmm. For the most part, I liked how the defense looked today. I know they gave up one touchdown on a 4th down quarterback sneak. I mean, when you put it in perspective, I mean, I know it's the Jets, but 12 points is still a pretty good day.
Yeah. They were more disciplined. That was maybe the one positive that I noticed is that it was just no like there wasn't the typical Jerry Hughes frustration flag out of today that we normally get. But anyway, it's my 2 cents.
Yeah, because Rex comes in as a defensive mind, but I don't know if he got as much discipline and kind of exuded that out as much as Sean McDermott does.
Yeah.
So, sticking with another side of the ball now, we talked defense, talked offense, special teams now. Dan Carpenter got let go in the offseason, had his struggles last year. Stephen Hausha gets signed in his place, 0 for 1 today on field goals. I know it's early. Any concern about him going forward?
Not yet. I mean, I really have no opinion on it. Obviously, you would have liked to see him make the kick today. He didn't miss any of the extra points, so
true.
I know that's good. Not that, I mean, if you're an NFL kicker, you should be able to make that extra point. You would have liked to see him make the kick, but there's so many things that can happen there. If he goes out and makes the next 10, he'll mentally be, he'll be pretty strong. He'll probably go and make the next 10 after that. If he misses this one, maybe he starts to miss a couple more, then I think we get concerned. But for one kick in a non-very crucial situation, I think he gets a pass.
That question may have snuck its way in there because I may or may not have drafted Hauschka in a few leagues.
I'm in 4 leagues this year, which is 2 too many. I like to do 2 leagues. One of them I've been in for 10 years. It's like my really, really big league.
Okay.
Super care about it so much. I've got no shot this week, so I'm very, very hurt right now about that one. I think I'm actually going to go 3-1 though.
That's not bad though.
But I would trade all of the other wins for the win in the league that I'm going to lose.
All right. Well, that's
but it's a long season. I don't have
Yeah,
Steven
yeah.
Hauschka in any of them. We actually, I'm in a league where we eliminated kickers.
Really?
Yes, I'm in a couple of
That
those.
sounds like a Bill Belichick league.
It's progressive. It's
I like
we are trying to be. It's just no kickers because they're such a crapshoot anyway.
Yeah.
So no kickers, and we added a flex spot.
Oh, all right. That's not bad though. Gets more points going. I kind of like that.
Yeah,
And you got to dig deep though, depending on how many teams are in the league. Then
you want it 14 teams. You want to know who you want to know who I started to flex this week for my second flex?
Okay.
Marquise Goodwin.
Whoa.
he's a starter though, isn't he? WR2 there in San Francisco.
He's a starter there, but still.
That's how deep you're scraping to the bottom of
That's
the barrel.
very true.
Yeah, I don't even think did they even score a point today? I don't think they scored a point.
Oh, good.
I gotta check that.
I think
score.
they got shut out. So I think he had like 5 points.
I definitely have
Couple of
Pierre
receptions.
Garçon in a league too. So this is just great live. We'll find out. later.
Degradation.
Oh, God, just bad. All right, let's look ahead a little bit here, Matt.
Okay.
The Jets, obviously the worst team in the league by everyone's account.
Yeah.
Carolina's been up and down. Obviously, last year was no good. The year before that, they go to the Super Bowl. So what do we expect out of this Bills team in Week 2? And I know this is super early and we're still digesting Week 1. What are the expectations is it's going to be a better quarterback. It's going to be a better overall team, a better run offense in Carolina. Sean McDermott returning to his former stomping grounds. You're going to have the emotions in play. What do we expect Week 2?
Well, I think that if you were going to ask me right now who is going to win the game, I would say Carolina. And I would bet as, lines come out in the next couple days, they're probably like a 7-point favorite or something around that. I don't know if there's probably already lines out. But I think the Sean McDermott familiarity with his old team will help because he'll be able to give a lot of good information on what they do well, what they don't do well, things that they need to pay attention for. Obviously Carolina has had a very good defense. At least 2 years ago, last year, without Josh Norman, they struggled a little bit. But I still think LaShawn McCoy can be very effective on offense. Today, I think I saw somewhere online that Cam Newton only had 5 receptions to wide receivers. So it's kind of similar to Tyrod Taylor. I'm not comparing the two. But obviously, they're spread a little thin at wide receiver. When you look down the depth chart, I think Calvin Benjamin and Greg Olsen, and then after that, you got to really start digging in the back of your head to see who's even there. So if you can have Tre'Davious White, maybe go up against Calvin Benjamin. Obviously, Calvin Benjamin will have the height advantage there, but I thought Tre'Davious White looked pretty good today. And then if EJ, depending on what happens with EJ Gaines, I think it'll be a close game going into the fourth quarter, and then maybe the Panthers pull away a little bit, but you never know.
Interesting. I thought we didn't even touch on Trey White though, but I agree with you.
Yeah.
I thought he had a solid game today. Obviously, he dropped the interception there. It's a rookie playing in his first game. I'll chalk it up to a little bit of nerves at that point, and your eyes are still a little wide and whatnot. So, I mean, listen, as you mentioned, overall, it's a win, and that's what you have to look to. Will there be many more after this?
Oh boy,
we just don't know. Hey,
what do you guys think? Prediction, real quick.
Oh, season like a record wise
season, yeah.
I go 4 wins.
I was thinking the same thing. I'll go 5 just to be a little different.
I would say 5 as well.
Yeah,
5's the number that I keep just stumbling to.
Believe me, I'm looking at Syracuse's schedule, and I'm struggling to find another win with them.
Good luck.
Hey, your Buff State Bengals off to a 1-0 start.
I didn't even know that till right now. Thank you. Whoops.
Well, hey, listen, it's all right. Bove, what are we promoting here? What can we pump you up on?
Nothing. It's just I appreciate. Thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys. But obviously excited about hockey season.
Yeah.
So we'll have lots of good Sabres coverage.
You got to head over to WKBW.com, right?
Yeah, WKBW.com/Sabres. We've got our own little fancy pages. I'm really competing with Joe, though, because every story Joe does, gets an absurd amount of people reading it. So if you could do me the favor and go check out some of my stuff.
Help the kid out, for God's sake.
I would be happy.
I'll click it on every device I have. That's,
Thank you.
It's a bunch of Apple products, so I'm sure they're all just plugged in. It's only going to count as one click, unfortunately.
Probably.
All right, Matt Bove, WKBW out in Buffalo. You can find him on Twitter at Matt_Bove. No truth to the fact that he is at Young_Bove.
Not.
But we should
not
get
yet.
you that handle too. I'm gonna make that alternate handle now.
It's simply not.
That might be good. That might be good to save up and just store for a rainy day.
All right, Matt Bove, we appreciate the time, sir.
Have a good one, gentlemen.
All right, little bump music in. Around the corner, we're talking tennis, actually. It's the B-side story. Interesting end to the U.S. Open for the girls and the guys. By the numbers, the interesting number this week, we've got two teams trending in opposite directions, plus Irma just bearing down on Tampa. We'll try to get an update after this on TBD.
One voice, two voice. Hey, you're going to hear a third voice in studio. Get excited, get hyped. We here. You there. Listen to this beautiful. Yep.
I was just going to let you go.
Ran out of steam.
Let him go. He already did.
I ran out of steam.
I should have known. I should have been a better podcast partner. I should have jumped in earlier. Episode 28 to be determined. Pleased to welcome in studio, good friend of the show, our fantasy football GM, Steven Malero, a.k.a. Larry, so that we don't confuse the Steves and Stevens here.
I already messed it up once.
It's
right
all good.
before we
It's all
went
good.
on.
Can I get a Twitter shout out here?
Yeah.
Of course. You can find Steve on Twitter at Malls29.
That's right.
Off the top of the head there. Do you have that written down?
Legend.
Steve, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Steve is the head coach of the newly formed King's College men's ice hockey team. So he could be affectionately referred to as coach on this show.
I like Larry Legend.
Okay, it's fine. Whatever you like. Larry, thanks for joining us. Give us a quick update on the season. You're not quite there yet, but you're getting ready to hit the ice soon.
Not quite there yet, but we're excited to get going. 25 players right now, so super exciting. Long year recruiting, like we said, brand new program. Home opener October 27th. Ooh. So free entry. I'm throwing this out there right now. I'm going to throw out a free entry. Just TBD. Use it at the gate.
There, huh?
Use TBD at the gate. Free entry to the game.
They're gonna be like,
might even get it behind the scenes with the coach.
There we go. Ooh. There we go. I like that. Look at that.
Little
Look at the promo
greet.
there.
Little meet and greet.
The doorwoman's be like, what?
That's an exclusive.
You have to use
exactly.
TBD. And follow Kings Men's Hockey
there
on Twitter.
There you go. Yes. There we go. You got to get that Twitter handle.
Go Monarchs.
Yep. Go Monarchs.
All right. So Steve, kind enough to give us a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Join us for the segments here. This is a very guest-heavy show.
Yeah.
We got a lot of voices, a lot of different voices we're bringing in for episode 28. We will start with B-side story. U.S. Open. This is, I think, a true B-side story given all that has happened. It's week 1 in the NFL this weekend. Another big week of college football.
Yeah, college football's really getting rolling.
This is a major event. It's they call the majors Grand Slams, which always confuses the heck out of me.
It really is.
It's so confusing to me, but it's one of the majors. Yesterday, the females went. Sloane Stephens beats Madison Keys for the U.S. Open title. You've probably never heard of either of those names, is my guess, because we've never heard of either of those names until this weekend. Last month, Stephens was ranked, and she spells it the correct way with the PH, ranked 957th in the world. After the win, she's now up to 83rd.
And it's wild because, because of her age and because here and there she's been putting together some okay wins early on in these tournaments where you hear her name every once in a blue moon, but this is a little bit bigger.
This is crazy. Steve, have you heard of either of these two girls?
I have not, but I do like to dabble in the tennis from time to time.
Okay,
I do.
all right.
I do. I these athletes are unbelievable. The shape that they are in. I mean, I try to go out there and whack the ball around. I try my best. I am not a very good tennis player, but it's a very good exercise.
It's fun.
It's intense.
Yeah.
You have to be on your toes. You have to be on the balls of your feet continuously. And if you're not, it's not good. That clay is slick.
Crazy.
Let me tell you.
I don't know if I've ever walked on the tennis clay before.
I haven't. No.
Is there give?
You got to have the right shoes.
What do they got at Kings? They have a tennis team, right?
They do have a tennis team. They're just regular court.
Okay.
Just the old backyard court.
It's old school.
I believe.
Old school.
I haven't dabbled up there too much. But
Sloane cashed a pretty nice check, $3.7 million, and her reaction was pretty priceless when she received the check. They gave it to her on the court. And imagine just getting a check for $3.7 million. Your reaction was her reaction, and that's what made it awesome.
You got to find this. You got to find it. You got to Twitter search it. You got to find it somewhere. It's got to be all over there because it's going viral, and rightfully so. I mean, this is a teenager who was 957th in the world.
I didn't know they had 957 female tennis players in the world.
That's a lot.
That's insane. That's craziness. Yeah, kudos to her. The guys' side, Kevin Anderson, ranked 28th in the world coming into the finals, facing Rafa Nadal. The fun fact about Anderson is that he's 6'8", and he looked every bit of it.
Yeah, I mean, and yes, like if it was something like maybe Usain Bolt type of athleticism, long strides would be a big deal. But when you have these short movements, it's this short mobility, shorter stride or shorter distances. I mean, Rafa Nadal diced him up today.
Disappointed that it wasn't seeded properly, so we wouldn't have gotten Federer Nadal in the final. But that's what we all wanted. That's what we were kind of waiting for. I'm disappointed that they didn't do that. They didn't try to give us that opportunity. We're spoiled of that. But either way, Nadal gets the win.
I mean, Nadal was moving the puppy so crazy today. There was at one point where he was 19 for 19 at the net. And, I mean, this guy just could not get to the net quick enough to deal with this.
Yeah, you got to imagine. I mean, well, even for a guy that's 6'8",
crazy.
You got to imagine the athleticism like you talked about this guy, and just the force that he can hit the ball on the court. I mean, how hard these guys hit the ball on their serve. I mean, as a 6'8" athlete, I think you can serve up the ball and he's got to be up around that 128, 130 miles an hour serve, and then Rafa obviously to return it, but also have those great experience and the great shots to lay it in there for him and try to react. I mean, it's a lot of quick twitch muscle reactions.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing to watch those guys, back and forth volleying there.
Rafa took it 3 straight sets. That was kind of no surprise. But I'll tell you, to your point about the serve of Anderson, Rafa was backed up pretty much against the wall at some points.
I've never seen it.
It was insane to watch that.
He had one ace. So we didn't watch a lot of it.
Yeah.
Because we were producing stuff, but he had one ace. I mean,
he's a guy to watch. He's a guy to definitely keep an eye on.
Yeah, he's fun to watch.
You always cheer for the underdog, obviously. I mean, those guys that are world ranked number 1, 2, 3 are such phenomenal tennis players. It's truly amazing to watch them on the court.
And it makes you remember, because I remember, was it John Isner, who was like the really tall American versus Mahut? It was like the longest tennis match of all time.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's been broken since, but I remember it was like up for ESPY for best moment of the year. And I guess I see a tall guy like that, I guess think of John Isner.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is the last time we're going to see Federer and Venus Williams in a position to win a Grand Slam.
I don't think so.
I feel like we're at the very end of this.
I think Federer is just so good.
Federer's been
but
his demeanor.
I mean, listen, as we all know, the tennis is obviously a very difficult sport to play, especially on the joints. And there's no recovery for that.
He's been doing it for so long.
I know.
The guy's been around for so long.
Yeah, right. All right, let's go to buy the numbers. The number this week is 18, is in the number of games the Cleveland Indians have strung together, the amount of wins they've strung together here, not games. Everyone plays 18 in a row. They've got 18 wins in a row. Meanwhile, the Dodgers are streaking in the opposite direction. They've lost 9 and 14 of their last 15. So, 2 questions, very similar. What's going on with Cleveland, and what's going on with LA?
Well, as far as Cleveland goes, and I wrote down because they had just a really good intro into Sunday Night Baseball tonight of all these great stats, and I wrote them down, and I didn't even think to me at that point that these are all going to be, they're not going to apply, regardless of what the result is afterwards. So, going into today, into Sunday, longest streak, 17 games, now it's 18, since 2002 Oakland Athletics.
Okay.
A 1.76 ERA over the span.
That was Moneyball Athletics, right? In 02?
It might have been.
I think that was Moneyball Athletics.
Carry the 2. I have no idea.
Okay.
All right.
Could have been.
So 1.76 ERA over that 17 games. They trailed after only 4 of 153 innings during that stretch. Oh, that's unreal.
It's crazy. That's crazy.
And they outscored their opponents 118-30.
Wow. So the offense working then.
And all those things don't matter anymore. So
that's crazy. I mean, you just got to look at it. Like you guys have talked in the show before about the length of the season.
Yeah.
And you've talked about shortening the length or finding some way to play less amount of games. It's always been a debate in Major League Baseball, but for these guys to go out and perform that many nights in a row and get that many wins in a row, I guess in any sport it's pretty unbelievable. But baseball, you guys talk specifically on baseball with the amount of games they play. I mean, you got to imagine the wear and tear on these guys to give everything, and it's almost like when a pitcher's throwing a no-hitter, everyone's putting there's defense involved in that. But I think when you look at this game and this streak, it's pretty amazing that you can see this going on for a team in any sport. But to see a baseball team, I think specifically with the amount of games they played already, especially at this point in the season. I mean, they're getting ready for the playoffs.
To do that with the grind of that many games is absurd. And plus, I mean, don't have Jason Kipnis, an all-star name. I mean, Michael Brantley is coming off a crazy MVP status last season. He's not playing right now. I mean, Edwin Encarnacion, it's a guy, regardless of team, he's playing DH. He's not as much of a fielder at both sides of the ball kind of deal. But like a Kendrick Morales or like a Nelson Cruz, that dude can still hit for power year in and year out at his age. You mix that with Jose Ramirez, who's like a utility guy that made the All-Star game. It's absurd what they're doing. And Corey Kluber is stealing the MVP, or not the MVP, well, maybe the MVP, but the Cy Young in the AL right now.
All right, how about the Dodgers? This is a team that we both remarked earlier, and it wasn't that long ago, that we thought, man, I don't know if this team will ever lose again, or at least not lose a majority of the games. Then all of a sudden, they've lost 9 in a row here, 14 of their last 15. And I get they've got injuries there, and the pitching hasn't been as great. The hitting has been inconsistent. How does a team this talented that's won 92 games fall into this kind of a trap this late in the season?
I think it's very easy. It's very cut and dry. I think you mentioned here, you typed it, injuries to their staff. It's just really taking a toll. And the thing is, like, they go out and add a Yu Darvish, and he's really good for his first 2 starts and change. He gets hurt. It's the injuries piling on, and even for these tip-top teams, I mean, it's a big deal. If the injuries issues are that big, it's going to hurt anybody.
Yeah, I just jump in quick on that.
Yeah.
I think that one thing to look at too is the management side of things and how. I mean, you got to look at when things are going really well, especially as a coach. Everything's going great. Mm-hmm. So 18 wins in a row, it's great. If not knock on wood, but if something goes wrong, how does the team deal with it? So you look at a team like LA who had gone on that streak and they're 92 wins. I think you said.
Yeah, 92 wins on the season.
Now they face a little adversity. Like I said. October is playoffs, and how's the team going to handle it? Because obviously they're a team that's going to be in that race, and when it comes down to it, and the playoffs are a lot different. It's a whole other season in any sport. But I think from a management side of things is, how do they go about bringing the team back together and getting back to where they were when they were on that streak? And I think right now, I think Cleveland's done a great job even last year in the playoffs, and I think Terry Francona has done a great job of managing his team.
He's a different type of cat.
I honestly think you look at some of the best managers in baseball, what they've done with teams down the stretch and what they do sometimes during the regular season, maybe around 500, and then they just put that push in, and they're ready to go come October.
I think you wonder sometimes how much of a difference a manager makes. I think on this 18-game winning streak that the Indians have had, I think that's the difference, as you point to Terry Francona, because he's got to be – you have to get your guys dialed in every day.
Every night. And they
every night.
That's so many games.
Yeah.
That's absurd.
Yeah.
Management, bench coaches, they got everything there,
No doubt.
Oh, I'm not.
I'm telling you, just pull your mic down a little bit. You're just getting away from it, Traps. That's all. I want to make sure we can hear that.
No, but it's tough. It's tough being in the seat. It's hard. It's hard not to look into those eyes. Man. I wish I was sitting on the other side. It'd be a lot easier for me.
These turquoise angels.
I'm telling you.
But so you are the coach of the three of us. Would you say it's more difficult when you're dealing with adversity or when you're on a big winning streak?
I think it depends on how long that adversity lasts and how long you let it last. I think there's two different sides to it. I mean, like I said, when things are going great, one little bump in the road, maybe it doesn't really do much. But if it's a snowball effect and things start really going downhill, then it really takes a toll on your team.
You feel it more, I think. When the adversity, you feel every bump.
I think the most success I've had in the past is when things are starting to go away or whatever, you got to get back. You got to have people hold each other accountable.
Sure.
And you got to go back to those basic, hey, this is what our team is. This is who we are and what we want to do and what we want to accomplish, back to those team goals and get back to it. Because I think sometimes when things start, you don't see the gray. Cleveland has 18 wins. Maybe there's other things going on, though, that we don't know about.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting point because LA does have a lot of new faces.
A lot of youth.
Well, Yu Darvish, Granderson there, two newer guys that weren't there at the beginning of the year when you set those goals. So,
or like a Bellinger, a rookie.
Right, yeah, true.
It changes the whole dynamic. One player can change the whole dynamic.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Twitter takes. This is an interesting one. I thought athletes would have learned this by now, but apparently they have not. You have to stay out of Mia Khalifa's DMs. You have to do that. Trabs with a nice fine here we'll get him for. Wilson Contreras sliding into Mia Khalifa's DMs asking to be friends. And I think he did it in Spanish. I didn't quite look at the DMs here.
Spanglish.
Spanglish,
Is
right.
she Spanish?
Sorry.
Does she speak that language?
No, but he does, obviously. It's not good. The former porn star put him on notice, tweeting, and this tweet was spectacular, I thought. Cubbies, your mans is wandering around left field. Can you come and get him?
Now,
that to me is what made it the Twitter take.
I want to know if he had a very different way of going about this in terms of sliding the DMs.
Yeah.
A lot of people are very aggressive with it, but he was like a little puppy dog about it. He's like,
yeah,
hey, can you go say hi to me? I'm a big fan of yours.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Right.
I don't know if that was all a ploy to get her to respond because of the track record,
yeah.
or
you thought you would have learned from Swag Kelly,
or if he just doesn't know what's up with this whole thing.
I don't know.
But I wonder if he had.
I shake my head. Social media is just a whole other beast.
I wonder if he had the interpreter in on this. I don't know.
Well, a spokesperson has come out for Contreras saying that, of course, his account was hacked. Which
that's
seems
what I was
to
just
going to
say that in my head. I was like, this account's been hacked. It had to have been hacked.
I don't understand this, though. I don't. If you're going to hack it, why are you? If you're going to hack somebody, you're going to go into somebody's DMs. You don't know that Mia Khalifa is going to post this, although it's rather likely given her.
Yeah, she can do it every single
track
time.
record. But
it's not rather likely. It's 100%.
Why can't athletes learn not to do this with this one particular person?
He was on the DL. Today he got taken off the DL after a long time off of it, or on it, I should say. So hopefully no more of this.
I mean, just a side note, if I may.
By all means.
Think about all the women out there. You're a professional athlete.
Yes.
And you go after
a lot of
Khalifa.
fish in the ocean. Yeah.
I mean, no offense, but
yeah,
I mean,
with the track record,
yeah, there are there's billions of people in the world,
right,
and that's the one person you DM. I mean, come on,
he's the starting.
Seriously,
he's a starting catcher for the reigning world champions, and he's a strapping young lad.
Exactly.
He's a big boy.
Why it happens in social media all the time. You see it everywhere. I mean, as a coach, you got to be monitor everything that goes on with your players,
right.
Obviously people that are in charge, like people. There's obviously someone on social media that's monitoring all these players' social media. So why is this person not getting any flack for it?
Yeah,
maybe he's out in left field. He's chasing.
I guess. I don't know. I mean,
he's on the wrong train platform.
You can't monitor DMs though. That's the thing. Your players are.
That's the problem.
It is the problem. But it's once it gets out. Golly. Once it gets out, it's out there.
And like you said, there's so many.
I mean, there's so many. Like
you see
DM a model somewhere out in Sweden or something, some blonde hair, blue eyes or something. You know what I mean? Like. Oh,
he seemingly has a lot of options. Why go with the one that's absolutely going to blow up your spot?
Yeah, she's going to put you on notice.
Maybe he just wants more followers.
I guess.
Maybe
I don't know.
Trying to get some more followers.
Interesting.
Maybe.
It's an interesting take.
Maybe he's
All
trying to go viral.
Let's go to get off.
He's going to get something viral.
Right.
One or the other.
Exactly. Let's go to get off my lawn. We turn our attention to Hurricane Irma for Get Off My Lawn here. And it's a very serious topic, so we don't mean to make light of this. And I just received, as we're recording this at 11:32 on Sunday night, just received word from our senior producer, Mitch Beluco, who is set to join us, but can't. He has been called into work. They're on crazy schedules down there. It's 12 hours on, 12 hours off. The men and women who are in the media down there doing an excellent job of keeping us all informed, whether you're down in it or up here like we are, safe and sound and hunkered down in the basement. Mitch being called in because he says, quote, things are getting crazy.
Shout out to the guys.
So, yeah.
That's wild.
The Get Off My Lawn moment is this, and then we'll dive into some of the more serious stuff. Tampa media members are being forced to stay in town, okay? The governor has ordered people to evacuate all over the state, and most people are getting out, including prisoners. Prisoners of the state of Florida are being evacuated. Roughly 7,000, it was estimated, I saw an article today, have been evacuated and moved to northern part of our country, not the north, but just, into Georgia and trying to get as far away from this as possible. Yet, members of the media are being forced to stay and work. And the question becomes, if everyone's evacuated and everyone has to go, who are you broadcasting to?
Fair point.
It's just my question. Listen, I get you have to stay, and it's going to be one of the biggest stories in the history of this city and one of the biggest stories in the history of our country. It will be, because that city is not prepared. If you've done any research on Tampa, it doesn't take long. There was an article written in December by the Washington Post that pointed to Tampa being one of the 10 least prepared cities in the world for a natural disaster, and their natural disaster obviously being
vulnerable, I think,
hurricanes.
Too, just the way they're set up.
The estimation at the time in December is that if a hurricane hit, and I can't remember if it was which class they did, right now it looks like it's going to be a Class 2 hurricane, or however the heck they determine. I think it's class, right? Am I wrong?
Category.
Sorry, Category 2. I don't remember what the estimation was, but a study was done back in 2010 that said if a hurricane were to hit, and I think it actually was a Category 5, now I'm thinking of this.
I think it was 5, and then it's 4, and then 3
right.
when it hit land, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
But if they had a 5, it was estimated they would lose 500,000 buildings. 2,000 people would die, and that their infrastructure simply isn't ready. So we're talking devastation upwards of $175 billion, which far exceeds Katrina. And it'll exceed Harvey, too. And remember, Harvey was just a tropical storm. And I don't mean to make light of Harvey either, because the rain's what did that city in, because it can't drain properly. But you're going to combine the amount of rain and a storm the size of Ohio, and now I think it's up to the size of France.
Jeez.
Hitting a city that is ill-prepared to handle it. And we're forcing people to stay there. It's amazing to me.
But yeah, attacking this situation from maybe a different viewpoint or I guess a different way altogether is like, there's no doubt in my mind that they're going to be showing strength and resilience with the coverage that they get out of it.
Sure.
Whatever they're allowed to do, I mean, you can't really control the weather. And just resilience as well. I mean, you had a lot of sporting events, bringing this back to sports. You had a lot of sporting events, major college football games, your Florida State, your Florida, so on and so forth, Florida Atlantic, that obviously had to move their games. Yeah. I think they're really showing resilience as well by not just canceling them. Like, no, we're not going to let this weather really get in the way of too much. We're going to make sure we still play these games, which I was very surprised with. It's not the NFL. I thought these games were just going to get wiped off the season.
Well, to a certain extent, sometimes you need those games. You saw the Houston Astros come back and the mayor of Houston say of the Astros, who were going to just stay, I believe, in Miami or Tampa, one of the two, wherever they were at the time, to play those games at the time of Harvey. He said, no, come back and play. You need a sense of normalcy. And that's what you... Listen, we're literally at the beginning of this thing, and it may not be over until Tuesday. Who knows if it bleeds into Wednesday. You don't know what the devastation is going to be at this point. You just don't know. They've got a soccer team down there, the USL, which is right on, it's in St. Petersburg.
Right on the water.
That stadium's right on the water. You don't know what the damage is going to be to that. The Trop isn't too far away from that part of town. Amalie is right on the water. It's right there.
Lightning? Where
the Lightning play, yes.
Yep.
I believe Raymond James Stadium is far enough away. It's still going to be hit by the hurricane, but at least far enough away from the water to where
it's those surges.
It may not be as affected.
The surges are really going to make the damage.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, listen, the thoughts, the prayers... everyone's seen this coming for a while now. We saw the devastation when it did, in paradise, so to speak, in the Keys and whatnot. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad.
Yeah.
I think back to the sports thing, like Travis is talking about, is just sports has always brought people together.
Yeah.
I guess that's the biggest thing. It's just you gotta. I guess common sense has to come into play too sometimes. Like I guess the toughest thing is there's a lot of people that can't get out. That's the saddest piece. I think.
Yeah.
Is there's a lot of people that want to get out and they can't. They don't have, like, where are they going to go? Who can afford to leave?
Right,
exactly. Stay somewhere else.
Point.
Like, I guess that's the biggest thing. But also, like, bring it back to sports. Sports does bring people together, and people can say like, oh, they shouldn't be playing, they shouldn't be doing this. But like you said, it brings it back to a sense of normalcy, and it gives people like a sense of hope. Like things can be better. Things can be. People are grinding it out right now in Houston.
Yeah.
Like, people don't have anything.
Yeah.
And like the worst part about it is in Florida. Say you get stuck there for this next week, you're there without power, you're there without transportation, you're not going anywhere.
Supplies.
So where they can't get to you, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And I think that, that's when it comes into play where, okay, like when do we decide this is too much? Too much is too much.
Mm-hmm.
The people that go in there and do the news reporting and everything else, it's great to see. And obviously you want to see the coverage because people, like, again, it's news.
Yeah.
People want to see what's going on.
Yeah.
In different parts of the world and different parts of the country. But, like I said, back to the sports thing, I think it really brings people together and it gives people a sense of hope sometimes of, times are going to get better. And we've seen that in how many different events in the U.S. over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a time in our nation right now where we're very divisive.
Yeah.
It's liberals versus conservatives. It's the North versus the South. It's the race issue, black versus white. It's me versus you right now. And I'm not saying natural disasters are what we need, but you need something to bring this country together. It's unfortunate that it may take natural disasters to do it.
Yeah, something to break everything up.
But that's the positive you hope for in this, I guess.
And I love that point by you, Coach, is because in the news industry, even if you just want to just whittle it down to that, news a lot of people need. Sports is something people want to go out and get.
Yeah.
It's because of the hope factor. It's because of the bringing people together factor. Yeah. And I think that's something that could really
also raising the money. I mean, you usually saw what J.J. Watt did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, one guy.
Yeah.
Think about how much money
Those are
that
big
I think
figures.
It was $30 million.
They're big public figures.
Those guys are helping out.
Yeah.
And people, we were at Kings actually last week, and we had a staff meeting. Quick story here. I forget what team it was. I think it was in Houston. They were asking for people to send stuff. One of the sports teams.
I think University of Houston men's basketball.
Maybe, yes.
Okay.
We actually reached out to them to send them stuff, and they said we don't need any more. Like we have too much.
That's
so it's
awesome.
actually a good thing.
Kidding.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like a
They
good
said
problem.
they had boxes and boxes still showing up when they called us and said we don't need anything more because we were students were dropping off clothes, anything we could give. So we're trying to figure out a way now. Okay, now where do we send it next? Like in Florida, where should we send it now?
Right.
So there's people that want to help. It's just, and like social media, it's gone out there. It's done a lot of great things. Obviously, other than
that's
DMs,
the positive
but,
of it. Yeah.
It's one of those things like sports brings people together.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, with the whole protests and everything else, at the end of the day, it brings people together, and sports is America. I mean, that's
it gets through everything. Yeah.
The Bucks might be their best chance right now. Until we get to hockey season.
It's exciting for them. That's something to look forward to now. People are like, okay, at the end of the day, maybe we can't get to certain places, but we have these people something to enjoy and look forward to.
I can't imagine having everything you own one day and the possibility of within 24 hours that all been gone.
Water is more damaging.
Doesn't mess around.
It's crazy. Because it just sits. It's hard to get rid of stuff.
I hate to end on that depressing note, but Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, boys. This is like I said, first time on the show.
Yeah. First time, long time, right? That's the idea.
I've hit the mic quite a few times with my mouth.
That's all right.
I'm not used to the mic yet, but it was good.
Get up in there.
Get off my lawn.
We'll get you some more. We'll get you some more PR. We'll PR you up for when you get the season going. I'm sure the Wilkes-Barre media will be all over you guys. Continued success, Steve. We appreciate you giving us a few minutes coming in studio.
Absolutely.
You can find him at Malls29. What's the Twitter handle for the team now?
We are at Kings M Hockey.
Kings M
Men's
Hockey.
Kings, the letter M, as in Mary Hockey.
Coach, all the best. We appreciate it.
You got it. Thanks.
Around the bump music, we'll go fall. We're going to dive into some fall beers with our beer guru, Will Cleveland, of the Democrat and Chronicle, and we'll wrap things up with a preview of Canelo Triple G, as we're less than a week away from that mega fight in boxing. TBD rolling on.
We got Audja, we got Vidya. We're having good times and hopefully making better memories. We're here to be determined. I forget what block it is, but that doesn't matter because, hey, words are being said.
It's late in the night.
Yeah.
When we're recording this.
But
it's the D block, technically.
It's where we do our best work.
It's if I could find my pencil. I don't know where I lost my pencil. I think that's it right
pencil.
there, actually.
I have a pencil. It was over here, though.
I think that's mine. How did I get over there? All right.
I can give it to you.
D block bro tip segment. We pleased to be joined by our beer guru, Will Cleveland, a.k.a. Bill Cincinnati, of the Democrat and Chronicle.
That's on him. That's on him.
Yeah, that's not a keeper.
It's, I don't know. I love the name. I thought it was a great alias, if I'm honest.
You could do better.
All right, well. I think you're the one that said that name, though, on this very show.
No, well, yeah. Well, I had a high school teacher who said Cincinnati is a better city than Cleveland. So he did call me. He did refer to me as Will Cincinnati.
Okay.
Maybe once, and then I told him some kind words, and then he stopped.
All right. Well, I'll stop then. I apologize.
I don't really care. Do what you got to do there.
Irondequoit High School?
Yes, sir.
Roddy.
There we go.
Thing.
Been a while since we've had a chance to speak with Will. So now that your Bills are back in action, thoughts on Week 1?
I mean, they won a game they were supposed to. They shut down a crappy offense, and I was kind of disappointed the defensive line didn't get more pressure. But it was kind of cool to see a lot of guys rotate in and out there, and the secondary surprised me, and I don't know, the running game looked good, and Tyrod made some nice throws over the middle, so solid win.
A phrase that you haven't heard too many times. Tyrod made some nice throws over the middle.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was I think maybe like the Miami game last year might have been one of his only better games. Like he played a really decent all-around game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
All right.
Cool.
Will joins us to talk everything beer. And now that pumpkin and pumpkin spice has inundated everything here, it's taken over. It's back. We figured, hey, let's talk some fall beers. So, your thoughts right off the top, the best fall beers.
Well, fall's like the perfect time of year for Oktoberfest. They generally come out in like August, but they're nice, hearty, sweet lagers. That's one of my favorite styles there, so it's always exciting to see those come out. And we're blessed to have a bunch of really good local ones. Jenny makes an awesome one. Naked Dove down in Canandaigua makes a good one. So does Rohrbach over in the city. Lost Borough, also in the city, came out with a nice one. Three Heads with their Rocktoberfest is another really good one. That's generally one of my favorite styles. So, that's kind of your quintessential fall beer.
Now, is there any new fall beers that you were really excited about?
To tell you the truth, I haven't really been seeking out new stuff. I've kind of been drinking all of the same stuff, more or less. Like I said, I've been drinking a lot of that Jenny Oktoberfest, just because it's $8-9 for a 12-pack, and that fits that fits the student loan addled budget that I have. And you got to be able to afford dog food too. So yeah. So nothing really new, which is terrible of me to say, but we'll be honest.
Hey, if the old stuff is good, then stick with the old stuff.
Right.
That's what I say.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yes, that was actually a much better way to say what I just said.
There you go.
I thought it looked like you were searching for that phrase. That's all. I was like,
yeah.
Travis is trying to find it. It's all right. Hey, you bailed me out plenty of times when I've done that on the show. All right, Will. This fall, a time to go, apple picking and whatnot. You've got a significant other. Travis and I are still looking for ours. Let's say you had a significant other or you want to go on a date. What's that?
It's a freaking miracle.
Hey, it happens, right? Every once in a while you find one.
Don't sell yourself short.
That's true.
All right, well, fair.
What's the best brewery to visit in the fall?
What's really cool about fall? You can go do some cideries. There's some cool places in Williamson. There's one that's opening up in Greece that I wrote about recently that should be opening very, very soon called Blue Barn over in North Greece, almost to Parma on Manitow Road by Lada and Manitow. But it's really cool to go see where the apples are picked and then drink the ciders that come from those apples. I think that's a really cool fall activity. And if you're blessed with a nice fall day like we had today, it's also nice to just sit outside and kind of take in the scenery and forget how fucked up the world is and oops.
We'll bleep that.
So I don't know. For the fall, I kind of like places that have nice patios. So you can go out to Swiftwater and sit out front there, or go to Rock Brewing in the city and sit out there. Three Heads has a solid patio. You can go to Jenny and sit at the brew house and overlook High Falls. And there's if you're feeling frisky, you can drive down to High Falls and go to CB's. There's a whole bunch of plethora of options. To kind of not only enjoy foliage, that's quite possibly the whitest thing I've ever said, but also just relax and enjoy the company of someone special.
There you go. Look at that.
Yeah.
That was good. I like that.
Very sentimental.
So, as was mentioned off the top, you guys were talking about it off the top of the interview. So, pumpkin flavor, obviously big now in a bunch of other places. But, here we go. Yeah, so do you think pumpkin flavor should be in the beer industry? And if so, do you have any favorite pumpkin beers?
I wrote a column about it maybe 2 years ago. It was the headline was, I think the actual headline was "All pumpkin beers are gross" or something along those lines.
Really?
And I got so much blowback. It's I don't want pumpkin pie spices in my beer. I want to actually taste the beer. I don't want to be scraping spices off my tongue. I don't want to taste a beer that tastes like cinnamon and allspice. That's not pumpkin. That's pumpkin pie flavoring.
Yeah.
It's just dumb to me. But that being said, there are some actually decent pumpkin beers in our market, like Horseheads makes probably the best pumpkin beer in this area. And you can get that for, usually $5, $6, $7 at Wegmans or AJ's out in Henrietta or a place like that. And that's a really, really good pumpkin ale because it's well balanced. So you can also taste the beer and you're not hit over the head with these spices. People seem to love Southern Tier pumpkin. I've never been a huge fan, but I can understand why they do it. It's a fall seasonal staple. It seems like it comes out earlier and earlier every year. I think this year's batch probably came out late July, which is just dumb. But, they got to sell the beer and people like it. And, when it boils down to it, drink what you like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think people actually know what like the vegetable pumpkin tastes like because of all these spices.
It tastes like squash. I mean, it's like, I had a friend who actually made a pumpkin beer that actually had like pumpkin flesh, and you don't get a lot of flavor from pumpkin flesh, honestly. So, I mean, you could also like roast the seeds, I guess, and use those in a beer. But it's just when you think of pumpkin beers, you're thinking of these crazy spice bombs.
Yeah,
so
it's true.
Another thing that comes up in fall is tailgating. So tailgating games like cornhole. But I've seen more and more that like breweries are having these games and very unique ones within the confines of their building. What's the most crazy game you've seen like that in your travels?
I don't know. Like you see like those massive 5 feet tall versions of the Jenga. I've seen that in a few breweries. I think
I've never played that, but I want to try it. It just looks so cool because it's.
I know like Resurgence in Buffalo has it. I think Hammer in Fairport also has it. I'm fairly certain. I'm always embarrassed like if you're playing that game and like everyone like the bar's full and you're playing with like 2 other people and you're gonna be that idiot who's gonna knock it over and then like the entire bar is gonna look over you and you're just gonna be like, yep, I'm that idiot. All right.
What you do is you own it and you just don't break eye contact with everyone looking back at you.
That's right.
I don't know if that's OSHA approved though. That sounds dangerous.
You got to be aggressive with is what you're saying. Then. All right. Well, what are you working on for the DNC?
I just had an article come out last week about a new brewery that's opening down in Bloomfield at the end of the month called Irish Mafia Brewing.
Ooh.
That's actually the name.
Wow.
And so that's an interesting story. I just filed a story earlier this past week. It was an interview with this guy named Ryan Burke, who is the head cider maker at Angry Orchard, which is the largest cider producer in the country by a wide margin. Mm-hmm. They control about 60% of the market.
Wow.
And he's from Williamson. So it's kind of cool to kind of see like this local guy who's, he's only 36 years old and he's like a rock star in cider. So I'm excited to share that profile.
Really cool. That's
awesome. Try to keep up with all the breweries that are opening.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it's one every other week, for God's sakes, or every week.
It's nuts. Like, I think we're up to about 20 right now in Monroe County. Huh. And from my count, I think there's at least 5 or 6 more that are slated to open pretty soon. I got an email last week from one that wasn't even on my radar. So where the heck does this even come from? And another one that's supposed to open up in the city somewhere. So
craziness.
Say business is booming. Like I had to drive. I was driving back from Pennsylvania to Syracuse today, and there was like a 40-mile stretch between like Watkins Glen and Geneva where I was taking side streets, and I passed like 30 breweries, cideries, wineries.
Seneca Lake is nuts.
Yeah, it's wild.
All right, well, where can we find you on the internet? Where can we find your stuff? Read it, the whole 9 yards.
Sure. DemocratandChronicle.com, and both on Twitter and Facebook at WillCleveland13.
Hey, we appreciate the time, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
All right, time for It's Got Legs, a story we think is going to continue to make headlines. Well, at least this one will for the next week until Saturday. Triple G Canelo, or Canelo versus Golovkin. I think that's the way it's.
Ooh, and this was a big thing in Mayweather-McGregor.
It was.
Who's
the A fighter?
Who is before the VS point?
Either way, this is going to be probably the best boxing match we'll have. I think it's going to be a candidate for Fight of the Year, decade. I don't know that you go century with this one, but it depends. It could be. Both guys skilled fighters. Sorry,
yeah. Oh no, you're good. No, in this day and age where every weight class has so many different belts and all the boxing organizations there are out there with clout, with real clout, you don't see 2 guys in their prime, this big of name, going against each other.
Yeah. I've watched some of the lead-ups, the all-accesses, the 24/7s, whatever it is with HBO.
Those are so good.
Really good. HBO did a really good job with this one, the lead-up. You get to see a different side of these fighters, and I'm a guy that doesn't know a ton about either of them. I've seen him box, obviously. I've seen him fight. Triple G had his first fight in upstate New York. His first, U.S. fight was at Turning Stone. So I'm kind of partial to Triple G at this point. But honestly, I just want a good fight. That's all I really want out of this. We weren't robbed of a good fight with Mayweather and McGregor, but it wasn't the fight we wanted. It was just the spectacle we wanted, where this can be the fight that we want.
I remember watching, Willie Monroe Jr., Rochesterian, he was going up against Golovkin. I remember that was one of the times I really fell in love with him. Obviously, I wanted the Rochester area to win. That's why I was watching it.
Yeah.
But just how respectful he was, and obviously just the way he performed out there.
Yeah.
You really kind of latch onto the guy, and his personality just kind of just seeps through. Because business is positivity across the board. And I remember loving so much going back kind of another weight class here. Anthony Joshua versus Vladimir Klitschko. Unbelievable fight, but I mean, those aren't the names. Those aren't the names of these two guys.
Yeah.
This definitely is bigger.
It's got it. It's got the billing. You're right.
It's a bigger deal.
You're right. You're absolutely right. All right, let's go to thank yous. That fight's Saturday, by the way. Let's go to thank yous. Our thanks to Matt Bove, WKBW, in Buffalo for joining us. YB at Matt_Bove. Our thanks to the coach, Larry Legend, Steve Malero, head coach of Kings men's ice hockey, for joining us. You can find him at Malls29 and the program at Kings M Hockey. Our thanks to Will Cleveland, the beer guru of To Be Determined, and more importantly, the beer guru of Democrat and Chronicle, because that's who writes the checks for him. He's just kind enough to give us some time every once in a while. We appreciate Will jumping on with us. Always a great segment. Our thanks to the senior producer at Mitch, or no, he doesn't have a Twitter, just the senior producer, Mitch Beluco. Thanks for giving us the update down there. We hope Mitch stays safe, and everyone in Tampa stays safe through Irma. Our thanks to the executive producer at Sports by Mom. Make sure you check out all the episodes. We ran out of time again. Golly. Check out all the archived episodes and whatnot on iTunes, Google Play. Download, subscribe, rate, review us. Give us a review, if you will, on iTunes, if you're an Apple user. Check out the show, tobedeterminedshow.com. And all the social media links are on the website. We'll do it with that. For @TravsMatt, I'm at Sports by Bond. Later, boys.
And girls. Dun, 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 dun.